host, the Next Best Picture podcast. Today, I am joined by the star of Your Friends and Neighbors, Olivia Munn. Olivia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on your podcast.
You know, I really enjoyed the series. I think there's a lot of fun twists and turns. Looking at your career in a retrospective, you've had the opportunity to work with some amazing people, whether it's Aaron Sorkin or Shane Black. I'm curious, when you're presented with the first few pages or episodes of, what Jonathan Tropper brings to the series, what attracts you to this and your character as Sam compared to some of the other works of your career?
Well, when reading Aaron Sorkin's scripts and you're reading Jonathan Tropper's scripts, it's very evident that these are really talented, singular screenwriters. I read many scripts in my career, and it's always so evident when someone has this God-given ability to write.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes off the page, and it makes your job as an actor so much easier because it's so tactile and visceral. You feel it, you understand it. And particularly for this world, I was so fascinated with how Tropper was doing this interrogation of the psyche and human nature and what people will do and the lengths they'll go to maintain their social position and wealth and privilege. And, especially in a world where power and ambition and money is more powerful than love and connection. And I haven't played in a world like that before. And then when he told me what was going to be happening with my character this season, I've never had that opportunity to play a character like this. And so that was all really desirable and impossible to say no to.
I think also what works so well about the series is that it's got this perfect tonal balance of it's incredibly funny one moment, and then when the tension is high, the drama works incredibly well. Did you, when you're talking to Jonathan, even for the first few episodes, Greg Gillespie, is directing, who I think is incredibly underrated director, but also a master of tone. Like, you watch something like I, Tonya or Pan and Tommy. What was it like, did it feel natural for you? Pretty early on, I was able to get that balance, off rip as an actor.
Yes. Craig Gillespie is one of my all-time favorite directors, definitely in the top 5. And so when they told me Craig was directing it, I was just so excited. I knew what the tone would be. This was a lucky situation for me because it's a tone that is very natural for me. I really, it's also because, I grew up in a middle-class upbringing. I was a military kid, in the Air Force, moving around and and then one day I find myself, amidst, some of the wealthiest, craziest, most power-hungry people by being in Hollywood and and having, because you're in Hollywood, you also have connections to, the White House and DC politics,
Especially now, sadly,
it's all and so, the thing about Sam is that even though she has worked really hard in her life, but she's also manipulated the social strata and sacrificed so much to get to where we see her. She still is someone who is looking at this from the outside in, if that makes sense. And I feel like that a lot of times in my life. There's been many times where I've, you get invited to something and there's no +1. And I remember that, and I'm at this, there's this thing called the night before party that they Katzenberg put on, or I think maybe he still puts on, but It's before the night before, like the Oscars, the night before the Emmys, there's this big party and everyone's there. And, and especially when you're starting out, you don't get a +1. You just be like, I'm happy to.
Yeah, I'm just so happy I'm in
Yeah,
this
yeah, you're
sphere.
the,
Yeah.
yeah. And you get that. Who are you here with? And you're like, just me, just me. And it is an interesting thing to like look around and see the most powerful people in Hollywood. And when you're a powerful person in Hollywood, you're a powerful person in the world because of the reach and the amount of wealth that comes with that. And the interesting thing too is when you get that up close, you see how fragile people can really be, and the fragility of keeping up appearances and the fragility of identity. It's this is a weird way to say it, but like once they started making really like our TVs were like super high def, right? And you could do this weird setting on it where everything looked super fucking real. Do you know what I mean? Like you did
Yeah.
thing where you're like, and it's like, I remember watching, I was like, this is a very circuitous way to answer your question, but this is when I was remember, it's auditioning can create so much anxiety.
Yeah.
It's such an artificial room to be acting in, and you're not with anybody. You don't have like any of the business or props or anything, but it doesn't matter if it's hard to do or not. It's what you have to do to be in this business. And I would like get intimidated, especially if I knew I was going up against like a really big star or, any of those things. And then I remembered what the TVs could do. So I put on Castaway.
Oh, okay.
And I put it to that setting where, it's just the color setting, right?
Yeah.
It's just the color. And all of a sudden it looks like someone's there with like a VHS camera shooting Tom Hanks on a beat. And I'm like, it took all the sheen away.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is just a human being, doing this. Like
and pretending he's just
talking to a volleyball. And it looks much less impressive without all the sheen, all the credit to Tom Hanks, fantastic actor. It's not about, but it was just more, I'm like, oh, it's something I can do. It stopped, the sheen of Hollywood went away. And I feel like getting back to like if that, in my weird way of answering it, I feel like that's what Sam is up close and she's seeing it and she's like, okay, I know the way back in, in a world like this. I thought a lot about this going into this character and beginning to film season 1. There's been a lot of conversation in the world about privilege and certain people who have a born inherent privilege. And I remember I was talking to a friend of mine who has inherent privilege, and he was really wanting to understand why people are making this assumption that people like him haven't worked hard.
Yeah.
And he's like, why does everyone think that we're so privileged that we don't work hard? He's like, I've worked hard my whole life to get to where I'm at. It's so hard. I've done, X, Y, and Z. And I had to say, very clearly, and he got it. But I said, no one is saying that you're not working hard. You clearly have worked hard. You're working hard. What everyone is trying to get you to understand is that you have been given the map of the mountain. There is somebody at every level, every station of the mountain who knows your mom, who knows your dad, who sees themselves in you. You are a mirror image of themselves. They went to college with someone like you.
Yeah.
And they opened the gate for you. You've been given the keys, you've been given the map, you've been given the codes, while the rest of us who are not born with inherent privilege, like myself, I'm, my mother, this year is actually her 50th anniversary of fleeing and coming here. And so the rest of us who are not born with inherent privilege are on the other side of the mountain.
Navigating our own way, like just on the flee.
Yeah. And then when we get to that station, that there's a gate and there's a guard. And whereas on the other side of the mountain, they're letting you in. the rest of us are being turned down. So we are essentially in this Sisyphean task where we never make it to the top of the mountain. We just keep getting there and sliding back. Whereas you're on the other side, you made it to the top and you said, well, I worked so hard. Like, yes, no one said you didn't climb up the mountain, but it's not fair for the rest of us who don't have
Mhm.
that access that you do. And, and then he was like, oh, okay, I get it. So then that conversation is what stayed with me throughout preparing for this, because I feel like that's Sam, who was not born into this wealthy world.
Mhm.
And she's around these people who don't understand truly what it's like to really work hard to get there.
No, I get that. You touched on certain aspects. I think obviously that you're playing Sam, but you nail her character so well where she marries into this very lavish lifestyle, and there's a sense of code switching in a way where it's I know everything and I'm playing into this, but like you mentioned, you had to in your way work your way through it, and also there's a fragility where Sam in a way feels very self conscious, and it's just like wow, it feels like you're at the top of the world. You don't need to really overthink this. And I think that's also what makes her dynamic with Coop so well. I love to learn about you performing with, Jon Hamm, who's just brilliant as always, and also seeing like the evolution of your two's dynamic throughout the season.
John is a really kind human being and a very generous actor to act opposite with. It's, Um, the it was a really easy dynamic between the two of us. Once I got past the fact that I was talking with Don Draper, you know, uh,
Yeah.
John is, I believe, like in this in the last, like I think I would say the last. When did Mad Men come on? Do you remember?
Around 08, 07, and then
Yeah,
it's
so
like
I
the
would
2014 range. So like very
yeah,
prominent that prestige TV on like network
and
television.
I
Like,
feel like in since Mad Men and
mhm.
since Don Draper and since Jon Hamm, I don't think that we've created another icon in Hollywood. I think that he made, like, if you think
Okay.
about, there are people who are very famous,
Sure, sure, yeah.
who are very loved, who are very successful, but like I think Jon Hamm is just so iconic and deservedly so because he came out as such a force and that's how he is in person and that's how he acts. He just brings something that's so unique. It's
Mhm.
and it just I don't know how to explain it, but we all see it on TV. And so once I got past that, which was, it took me a couple
Yeah.
a couple scenes together, um but our dynamic, the way we communicate, the way we talk, and the friendship that we've created has really helped make it more has bonded our characters even more, especially because our characters are we're both going through the same thing. You meet both of our characters as our lives are crumbling, and we're both trying so desperately to keep it together before we fall off a cliff, but we have different intentions with each other. My character is wanting more from him, and he is finding comfort and companionship with me, but I'm really just someone that's putting a band-aid over his broken heart.
Mhm.
And so this is a purely sexual relationship for him with, a friend, where it means so much more to my character. And it's been really fun to play mm, those opposing feelings in a relationship.
It's also as we're wrapping up, I think the added complication that you're really good friends with Mel. I
Mhm.
had a lovely conversation recently with Amanda Peet, and I asked, do you think, from your perspective, obviously that you guys have been working ahead on season two, that as a character, Mel deserves to be upset or feel some type of way about your dynamic, as of course, eventually, secrets will be revealed. Does she deserve to be in a position where she feels some type of way about it, considering how the relationship ended? Amanda funnily mentioned that she was like, "Oh, my daughters were very much that it's against the girl code," and she heavily brought that up. She tried to give some pushback, but ultimately shut down. I'm curious from the perspective of the person who is playing Sam.
Mm.
I think from your perspective that Mel deserves to feel some type of way, or is she warranted that opinion, considering how the relationship ended, considering where you're at in your life, and
Mhm.
also how that plays into your friendship?
It's a great question, and I love hearing her answer. Um, I obviously have my opinion as me,
Yeah.
yeah, but as the character, it was very, you know, clear. She broke the biggest marriage code. She
Yeah.
not only cheated on her husband, but she did it with his close
Best
friend.
friend. Yeah.
And not only that,
He's an NBA champion and a
and
superstar.
exactly. And let's add on the fact that they are staying in the community.
Mhm.
You know, when she made a decision to blow up her marriage and break her husband's heart with an affair with his best friend, and now she's going to keep going to the same barbecues. I think at that point, it's like, you know what, go find another wealthy, friend
Yeah.
group. And I think by watching that, it's like, oh, she clearly, I mean, look, I love Manda and I love her character, but that's some cold ass shit,
Yeah.
just to be prancing him around. And now you've got your ex-husband who is just, he has no plus one to these events. So I think that Sam, it looks at that situation as um, or Sam looks at the situation as Mel clearly didn't care enough about John's character Coop to even care enough if he goes off to date one of her friends.
Mhm.
You don't blow up a marriage like that in that way if you truly love the person, in my opinion.
And there's also, that ties into, Sam's relationship with her husband and his new relationship. And it's kind of like that similarity and that pain is also what makes you two such an interesting, pair in the
Mhm.
series.
When someone makes the decision to leave,
Hmm.
um, it's they really can't cry foul. You know, you know, um, like once somebody says, "I want this to end," like that's it. It could be 30. You're like, okay, you want this to be done?
Hmm.
That means I can go out the door, go to the coffee shop, meet somebody else, and like that's it. It doesn't mean like 6 months, a year. It
Yeah.
means like right, you made the decision. And I think some people like Mel don't like the consequences of making such a big decision. And regret obviously starts to seep in.
Well, Olivia, we could stay here and chat about every
I
development in the season. I know you're very busy, but your friends and neighbors, just seeing what you do here and everyone else, and playing in this very unique playground that you guys created is very fascinating. Just thank you so
Mhm.
much for your time.
Thank you so if you wanna bring me back on after the finale to talk about it
Let's
all,
do it. Let's
yeah,
do
I'm
it. I'm
happy to.
down.
I'm
Okay,
happy.
perfect. Full spoilers, just all
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Hey, and
Thank-
congrats on your podcast.
all right, thank
Oh,
you.
yeah.